I needed to keep my head down. I needed to keep myself sort of, you know, not very noticeable, but, you know, have a good story, listen to a good story, never laugh too loud, never do too much, right? So I learned all this when I went into the army, see? Now, how did they do this with all these people not speaking the same language? Well, let me tell you one thing. We were more scared of our officer than we were of any enemy. Discipline was that strict. And we obeyed completely our orders. And it was pretty easy to learn. I mean, you know, if they say sit, you sit. We just do what everybody, you know, stand all right then, aim, okay, fire. Very good. So I learned right quick, I did. I wouldn't say I was fluent in Dutch, but I did learn right quick. And I was quite good with the fencing, and I was a dead-eye shot with a musket, and pretty good with a, you know, one of those silly, who's got it then? One of those silly, yeah, that thing there, the flintlock. I was pretty good with it. You can pass it along, so it comes right back to me. Unless one of you lots thinking of taking it home. Anyway, so I'm in the army, right? And so we're going out, and we was never deployed. We was just practice, 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 practice. That's what they did. Drill, 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 drill. Because, you know, nobody speaks the same language and everything, and there's really no wars or anything, but they're just keeping you just in case. So I had this tent mate, right? And he was, what a guy he was. What a fella. I mean, he was such a jolly fella. Had a good word for everybody. Everybody liked him. And so it made perfect sense for me to sort of spend a lot of time with him, but we were tent mates anyway, and we became best mates, good friends, and then, yeah, and so then I told him who I was, see? And he was quite happy about that. And the both of us was quite happy about that. Who was not happy about that was the regiment. And we were ridden out of the regiment, but he was such a popular bloke. Let me tell you, he was such a popular bloke that the entire regiment had a whip round, and they gave us such a present of money that we were able to go and open up a pub. Well, I mean, we rented it like from the owner, and so we had a pub called the Three Horseshoes, and since the regiment was in town, we were able to do quite a bit of business. And for the first time in my life, I dressed as a woman. And then with 3 squares a day, I was able to be a woman fully, if you know what I mean. And so I was living dressed as a woman. It was his sister, see, he had no one else. And that, I think, was the thing that drew us together. His family had all died except for his older sister. I had this older sister who was so kind to me. I mean, I felt more like an imposter dressing as a woman, frankly. And without her help, I don't know how I would have done it. But she was a seamstress too, just like my granny, only she was kind. And she made me a beautiful dress that I wore and a nice apron and all of that. You know, and I was like a bar wench kind of, except I was married to the owner kind of, and so it was quite a nice life, really. Except, did I say about how my fortunes came in and out like the tide? Did I mention that? Because there I was, quite happy, married, with a way to make my way in the world as a woman and all that, with friends for the first time, and well, first Britta, that was the sister, first she got sick, she got this awful fever. It was a terrible fever, I don't know what it was. But, I mean, one minute you're out laughing and up working and everything, and the next minute you take to your bed, and then the only way you leave your bed is people carry you out of your bed and bury you. And so she was the first to go, and it made my husband quite sad. I mean, he was normally quite a happy fella, but that made him really sad. And then less than a month later, he got the same thing. I mean, he come down with this terrible fever, and he goes to his bed, and the only way he leaves it is, yeah, well, and so, well, all right, so, no use blubbering, right? So there I am, right? I'm up to me neck in debt, and I have no friends because the regiment has left to go down to the south to fight, and my only friends in the world are dead, and so, well, I pick up my husband's clothing, I put them on, and I decide I'll go back to England. I don't really know why I'm going to go back to England, but I figure I should go back to England. I suppose I could be a bar wench or something there. I could get some kind of job. So I pack up my women's clothing, and I put my husband's clothing for travel, because I figure it would be, you know, safer. So I get down to the port there, and I get a passage to go across to Dover. And I really had no plan, because my grandmom was dead, my mother's dead, I had no cousins, nobody. But I'm walking about, see, and I hear this sound. I hear someone, like a girl, like screaming, like, and so I'm still dressed as a man, and I go over, and I mean, I have my things from being in the army, you know, and so there's these two blokes, and they're like smacking around a young girl, and they're reaching for their trousers and disheveling her clothes and everything. And I said, hey, hoi, hey, stop that! And they're like, whoa, who are you and what are you? And I said, oh, do you not understand the word stop? Would you like me to cross the T? And although there's no I in it, I think I could dot it if you like. And so they left her off, see. And she was all blubbering and crying, and I gave her some money and told her to get herself home, wherever that might be. But I looked at the clothing I had in my bag, and I thought to myself, I don't think I'll be putting on women's clothing anytime soon. And I thought about being a pub wench, and I thought about needing a place to stay, and I thought about how expensive, and it was very dear, you know, just like it is now. And I thought about how when you're sailing, you have a place to stay, and I wasn't joining the army again. I had enough of that. It would be too many memories. So I went and I sailed on a ship. But then, you know, I got cold and tired, and I decided that I would go further south, you know. So I got a berth on a ship that was going to the Caribbean.